All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're back.
Do you feel some type of way about all these reboots and remakes of your favorite childhood properties that are constantly being announced? Do you want to be kept up to date with all the best pop culture news about nostalgia from the 80s, 90s, and beyond? This is Nostalgicast, your weekly roundup of the best and most up-to-date nostalgic news where we discuss the stories and give our thoughts. I am your host, who ain't afraid of no ghosts, Andrew Price. He's on a secret mission to uncharted space, Tyler Palo. He's not going to hurt you. He's just going to bash your brains in, Kelby Joseph.
Yeah. Hi.
He's a robot in disguise, Louis Elvius.
He's right. That's right.
And Dad Beats, a.k.a. Kirk Binchon.
Dad Beats!
Woo.
Legendary.
It's good to see you guys.
Cool
Back
seeing you
again.
too.
How's
Back
everybody
at it
doing?
again. Pretty good.
Great.
Chilling,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So before we get into the stories, I wanted to talk about a little something. So I read this study, and this is actually kind of old. This study was done in 2014, but it's been recently kind of remaking its rounds on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But people are talking about it, newly renewed now. So this study basically was conducted in 2014 that concluded that watching bad movies is linked with high intelligence. So the study was, for the first time, academics have delved into this phenomenon, with the journal Poetics this week publishing a study entitled Enjoying Trash Films, Underlying Features, Viewing Stances, and Experiential Response Dimensions. At first glance, it seems paradoxical that someone should deliberately watch badly made, embarrassing, and sometimes even disturbing films and take pleasure in them, writes Kelvin Sarkosh, postdoctoral fellow at the Mark Planck Institute for Empirical Aesthetics.
Made up.
Yeah, all of that sounds
Wait,
fake.
that's
Not
true.
real.
My dad goes to that school.
He's the dean.
Your dad's caving?
He's Bobby.
You
You know what this tells me?
Yeah.
This tells me
That
that
you're the smartest man
Lew-
alive?
No, Lewis is the smartest man
Oh,
No
alive.
lie, no lie.
Because
I was gonna
Lewis
say this about
loved
Rambo.
Rambo.
I was gonna say that. I was thinking. I was like,
Yeah, me like good move
Makes
only.
sense.
You know.
Yeah, Lewis is the smartest man in
It's
here
true.
because he gave Rambo Last Blood a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
For
I
what?
remember
Of
that.
course,
He
see?
said if he could
There's a link.
mathematically give it a higher
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been at home. He's been at
Yeah,
home
too
trying
bad
to-
there's no numbers bigger than 10.
He's been
Like,
at home
okay.
trying to like find new numbers.
Yeah.
I might be off the
He's
charts.
that smart.
He gave it
Yeah.
100 out of 10, but then when you do the math, it's
Yeah.
still just 10.
Yeah.
Listen, this
So I have some thoughts on
great
this, but
movies.
to quickly summarize what the actual study was. So the team started by trying to ascertain exactly what makes a film trash, with the most common characteristic respondents cited being their cheapness. Low-budget horror films were the most common example, probably because they're so plentiful and so easily churned out. Ironic viewing is obviously what is at play here, and the researchers found it is mostly film buffs who watch trash films, which would make sense as very often their enjoyment comes down to analysis of production values, dialogue, and plot structure. To such viewers, trash film appears as an interesting and welcome deviation from the mainstream fare, says Sarkosh. We are dealing here with an audience with above-average education, which one could describe as cultural omnivores. Such viewers are interested in a broad spectrum of art and media across the traditional boundaries of high and popular culture. He went on to explain that their engagement in film culture is demonstrated by their discussion of these films in blogs and forums. So I've thought about this a lot, and I without reading this study, I've always sort of had this viewpoint on things. I love low-budget horror films, particularly from the 80s and 90s. Whether it was stuff that was coming out in theaters or this like burgeoning home video market that blew up in that time period. I love low-budget horror movies. And, like a lot of people, I love watching those sort of like so bad it's good type movies.
Mhm.
One of the best movies of all time.
Come on.
I would recommend all of you check this out.
All right.
It's called A Talking Cat.
Is the
Why you
question
say-
mark in there?
Yeah,
It's got an interrobang. It's got an exclamation point.
Yes,
question
that's
mark.
good. That's really
That's what
good.
it's called.
And
Interrobang.
Terabang.
And it's a movie that it was. So it's a movie. It was a
Kramer
movie.
bangs you, baby.
That's a Terabang.
Terror
It's a
Bang.
It's like,
it's a
let's
movie
play
that
good
was.
cop, sexy cop.
Oh, you guys are stuck on a
Yeah,
terabang.
Terabang is such a good word.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's a movie written and directed by this person named Maria Crawford, which is actually a man, and I forget their name. It's Dan something, but they use this pseudonym, this fake persona to make children's films because he makes low budget horror movies and gay porn
Okay. Oh boy.
under his real name, and then as Maria Crawford, he makes these like low budget kids movies. And he made this movie called The Talking Cat, and it stars a cat who talks by a little like black After Effects animation flapping up and down on its mouth. And it's voiced by Eric Roberts.
Oh, I've heard of this.
And basically,
oh yeah,
the Maria Crawford is just like knows Eric Roberts and just convinced him to like be in this movie. So he just recorded all of his dialogue on his phone in his house. And so when you watch the movie, it's all these actors talking to each other, and then the cat, it's Eric Roberts' voice, and he just sounds like he went into a bathroom and then just like recorded all the dialogue in 15 minutes before he took a nap. And it's so good. It's so good. I've never laughed harder in my entire life.
What's the name of the movie?
It's called A Talking Cat.
Okay. Well, don't.
You just wanted to interrogate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I didn't
Also,
really did that.
gotta hit you with the interrobang.
Interrobang.
And so basically, I mean, my point is, not to get off on a tangent about a talking cat,
Okay.
or
No,
interrobang.
Um,
that's it. That's the last one you got.
but what this study says, I think rings true for me, is that like whenever I meet somebody who just doesn't share my amusement and entertainment with these bad, like poorly made movies, I just immediately like, oh, you're on a different level. Like you don't get it. You can't read the code in the Matrix
Yeah,
yet.
you work at Lowe's.
No,
Um,
Home Depot. It's Home
Oh,
Depot.
Home Depot.
Lowe's is a respectable business.
And this is totally true. Like when you've seen so many movies and you really love the craft of film and you're, I hate the term movie buff. I think it's so stupid. But whenever you are a lover and a appreciator of films and you love everything that ranges from like really well made, high production, tentpole popcorn movies all the way up to like really high art, like art house films and things like that. And you really understand the vocabulary of like how a movie is made. Then when you watch these movies, it becomes really entertaining to pick apart like why they did what they did and like what went wrong and why it went wrong. And as an example, in A Talking Cat, so we're watching the whole movie, we're laughing because everything is just so hilarious. And then the end credits roll, and it's playing this karaoke reggae version of Itsy Bitsy Spider, and it goes through like 3 minutes of credits, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after like 3 minutes, there's been no vocals, no anything but just crappy karaoke music, and then all of a sudden, Itsy Bitsy Spider, just background vocals.
Also recorded in his bathroom.
And I've never laughed. No, this is what happened. I've never laughed harder in my entire life. And the reason why it was funny is because you can see what happened. You can see that they just quickly found this track to throw into the credits, and they didn't listen all the way through it to see that there was like background vocals at the end.
And maybe they put it there on purpose.
No.
no.
And that's
It's not
what's
that.
that's what's fun about it to me.
Okay. Well,
And you should understand because
I do.
You were the biggest watcher of terrible movies of all of us.
For sure. I'm not gonna out myself to say who I don't like, but there are plenty of nights that I just turn things on just to pick out why they're bad and to also laugh and enjoy and just be like, well, if they didn't take this seriously, neither am I.
What are you
Well,
afraid of? Come
we
on,
have
say
a-
it. Who is it? Who is it? Come on. Give us one name.
Yeah, we need one.
That's crazy.
we have a shared love of Fireproof.
Fireproof. I love Fireproof.
Not only did I watch Fireproof, but I watched it with the DVD commentary
I did
from
the
the
same
directors.
thing. I'm a huge Kirk Cameron fan. Like whatever he puts out, I'm gonna watch it. I love Kirk Cameron.
And why do you like those movies?
I think because there are certain aspects of it that are so good that it's difficult to believe that other parts of it are so bad. Because when you watch Fireproof, visually, it's not bad. It looks fine. Everything is bokeh and colored beautifully.
It has that Shane Hurlbutt look.
There you go. Shane, yeah,
Yep.
Shane's butt.
He's a DP. He's the guy that Christian Bale yelled at on Terminator
Oh,
Salvation.
Oh, was it?
Oh,
Oh
okay.
man, shout out to that.
He's
guy.
the first
Good guy.
DP to ever shoot an entire movie with consumer grade digital cameras.
Oh, what
and
movie was it?
I don't
Terminator.
remember. He shot Act of Valor with a 5D.
That was a big movie.
Yeah, and he arguably is solely responsible for the like way that movies look now. That like digital crisp look of them.
Yeah.
He's arguably the person who created that.
Well, that they did that in Fireproof. I loved it. I like some of the stories, like how it goes so over the top that it's like, hey, either you believe this or you don't. But that's it. But I just like it. You know, it's entertaining to watch, and there's nothing bad about it. Like you watch it and you just kind of feel good.
Yeah, I never believe in like feeling guilty about watching something that I'm enjoying, even though I know it's stupid.
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty about it because whatever the outcome is, I'm still enjoying it. Like I'm obsessed with 80s dance movies,
Okay.
and I love them.
Fantastic.
But there's a lot of 80s dance movies that are low grade, and they didn't get the good enough dancers. So there's this whole conceit of like, they're the best dancer in the neighborhood, and they're certainly not. They're just trying to pass it off by some guy who's good looking, and they're like, well, he's good looking, we'll make him like the best dancer.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens in movies, they always have to have like a cutaway where someone goes, "Oh man,
Yeah.
he's good."
Oh,
And the
he's
camera's like
wrecking
going
it.
all slow, and they're like,
Yeah. And there's a stunt double, and then the guy like the stunt double does the splits, but then the guy comes up and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, you guys see
So
that?
yeah, I appreciate that for its dumbness, but I certainly don't feel guilty about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the podcast before, and I've sort of given my opinion, but I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I think that you just like what you like. If you like something, you like it. And the idea of calling it a guilty pleasure, I think, is you trying to like separate it from yourself and like something while insulating yourself from associating yourself with like the type of person who would like that movie. You don't want to be seen as dumb. So you're like, oh, that's such a good bad movie, or like that's such a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Or like my biggest pet peeve is when somebody calls a movie fun. I hate that.
Oh.
Nah, it's fun.
It's
Sometimes
not fun.
That one I don't
You
get.
you like it, but you don't want to say you like it because you're embarrassed, so you call it fun.
No, the movie could be fun and you like it. Like I watched that Mark Wahlberg movie where he's got his kids and he's with
The Happening.
No,
Dad or something like that.
that's not fun.
Stepdad.
It's
not
got,
like
yo,
some
get
kind
your
of-
man.
Come
Uh,
on, it's fun. Wondering what's
Step-
going on. In
Daddies
that.
and Christmas or something like that. You know,
Yeah,
Daddies and Christmas.
Daddy's
Daddy's
and
and
That's,
Christmas.
that's a different. That's
Yeah.
a different.
That's
movie,
definitely
Kelly.
And you're
movie.
saying it wrong. It's Daddies and Christmas.
The other name of Maria Crawford made that movie.
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
The original name.
I like that movie. You know, when you go and you watch it and you're like, oh, look at Mark Wahlberg. He worked out for this movie. Kind of weird.
Nah, he been swole. man.
Yeah, I mean, he's
been
swole, but like, yeah. He's like,
What
too
movie
swole.
doesn't
He
he
did-
work
he
out
swallowed.
in?
No. He doesn't work out in Daddies and Christmas. He
Again,
just looks like
not a movie.
it is a movie. John Cena's in both of them. There's two Daddies in
What?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Two Daddies. That's the sequel.
not
Two Daddies and Christmas.
Two Daddies, Two Christmas.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Actually, the third one's gonna be three Zaddies.
Three Zaddies?
Three Zaddies in Christmas.
I can't wait for 3
All right.
seconds.
Yeah. So
You
you know,
wanna
if you're
talk about
if
it?
you're out there and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're feeling a little guilty or stupid about watching quote unquote so bad it's good movies,
Right.
you're actually a genius.
Well, thank you.
You're the cream of the crop.
And that goes to you too, Lewis.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you're-
Shout out to Rambo.
Yeah. So let's get into these stories. First things first. There's a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot coming. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is being rebooted by Legendary Pictures via Rhoda Sayagas and Fede Alvarez's Bad Hombre Films. Chris Thomas Devlin is set to write the reboot for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Alvarez's past films include the Evil Dead reboot and the tense thriller Don't Breathe. There's not a whole lot of details about this, but did you guys ever see the Evil Dead reboot? I mean, you didn't even know what Evil Dead was, so you definitely didn't see the reboot. But did you guys see Don't Breathe?
I wanted to watch that.
Yeah.
It's like a very quiet movie, right?
Yeah, the movie is basically it's a home invasion. Well, it's a reverse home invasion movie, which is why it's so good, because these 3 teenagers break into this blind guy's house in Detroit to rob him because they're basically like, it's an easy job. He has this safe full of money and he's blind. So they break into the house, but this guy is like, not only is he like a military trained badass, but he's also a psychopath.
Okay.
And so he ends up basically they get trapped in the house and like he's hunting them and he's blind, but then basically what he does is he turns off all the lights and he gives the home court advantage to himself because he uses like sound to find them and they're like stumbling around in the dark. And
could they turn the light back on?
oh my God! You just pointed
My
out.
God, you just
You
solved the whole movie.
you gotta call Chris Thomas Devlin.
That's genius.
No, I forget what he cuts the power or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
The movie came out a couple years ago. I saw it in theaters, but it's really good.
Okay.
And it does play a lot with like silence of like they're being quiet because the only thing he needs is the sound.
Yeah, that's kind
This
of.
is like a thriller.
Yeah.
Or a horror movie.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
it's
thriller.
both. It's like a really
I mean, it
really
makes sense.
intense
Uh-huh.
Psychological thriller and a horror movie because it's
So-
basically like he's hunting them in the
So it
house.
sounds
the trailer
necessary
sounds
then.
like a Yin Yang Twin song
Wow.
because there's like.
Well, it was actually originally meant to be a Yin Yang Twins comedy,
Yeah.
and then
That sounds scary.
they dropped out and they were like, "Fuck it, let's just turn this into a horror movie."
Now my question for you is: wasn't Trey Songz in one of the Texas Chainsaw movies?
Was he?
I have a
Was he?
memory of this. 2000.
All right, somebody look it up.
He could have been. Busta Rhymes was in
Yeah,
Halloween
let us know.
Resurrection.
Somebody look it
so-
up
But wait,
in the
wasn't-
comments and let us know. We're
Wasn't
reading the
there
comments.
a chainsaw with Renee Zellweger in it?
What?
Yeah, that's actually kind of my favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation.
Oh, is that with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one. That
Yeah,
was,
it
that
was
a
like-
really good one.
It was the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre that was
He was.
written
Yeah, okay.
by the original screenwriter, and he went like real weird with it.
Oh,
Yeah, Trey Songz and
Oh,
yeah.
some girl that looks like Misha Barton.
wow.
So any white girl.
That's what I meant.
So
So if they don't put Trey Songz in it, I'm not gonna go watch it.
that's your deal.
That's your
breaker?
take?
Yeah, he has
Well,
to be back.
They're definitely
God.
not going to do that.
He
so
died, right? He
I'm
died in
sure
the-
he died, but they can find
Bring
a
him
way.
back.
They
Yeah.
can find. Well, he took a pill.
He took a pill.
it's going to be a reboot.
He
though.
turned the light on. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. He's Trey Songz.
The only thing I know is that this is kind of exciting. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those franchises that has been so thoroughly run into the ground that like most Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans like don't really care anymore. Like when a new movie comes out, it's like like
Clear because
Uh,
they didn't put Trey Songz in it.
but
I
it's
what?
but it's kind of exciting because I fell off the Texas Chainsaw Massacre train, so I don't know if there's been any other movies or reboots since then. But the last one I remember seeing was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D with Alexandria Daddario,
She's been blowing up. Man.
and that movie sucked because
Oh man.
it was
Unfortunate.
all of the gore and violence was just 100% CGI.
Oh yeah.
So
Unfortunately,
it sucks because it's just like when a horror movie with CGI gore is like it's not scary, it's not thrilling because your brain is like that's fake. With practical effects, like even though it is fake and oftentimes looks fake, because it's real, because it's physical, biological, because it's liquid and it's skin looking stuff and it's ripping and like your brain just it registers to your brain as like real. But when
Yeah.
it's CGI, you're just like, no matter how good the CGI is,
it's not.
you're just like, this is a video game I'm watching right now.
You remember the scene in Rambo, Lewis's favorite movie, when he like pulls out the
Collarbone?
person's like collarbone?
Yeah.
That was so hard to watch because I
Yeah.
really was like, that's a real collarbone.
Yeah.
They should have told that actor that they were gonna do that.
Yeah, they killed him.
He got extra
It,
stunt pay.
Oh, okay.
There,
I
the
can see why it's so great.
Saw 3D has that issue. Like,
Yeah.
half of it's practical and half it's not. Like, there's a scene where he's in the car and his like whole mission is like to stop the car from going forward because it's gonna kill everybody. And you see his like back being pulled off. The skin of his back is being pulled off by the car because he was glued to it.
Chester
Yeah,
Bennington from
Chester Bennington.
Lincoln Park.
And it looks just it's
that
obviously
part's real. Like that. I mean, not real. Like they didn't.
that's
but
that's what I'm saying.
that's
That it
like
looks
liquid
so
latex
real
being
because it's liquid
ripped.
latex, and then you'd get like 5 more minutes into the movie, and it's just like the dumbest CGI, and it ruined it all. But it looks so good up until those points.
Well, that's what happened with Rambo because that one scene, the collarbone scene, was like practical, and then the rest of the movie they were like, oh, we spent all the budget, and then the rest of the movie was all just crappy like digital blood spatter effects and CGI and visual effects. And it's just, and that one scene was like, oh shit, and then the rest of the movie was just kind of like, eh.
I didn't even recognize.
So that's exciting because this director, Don't Breathe and Evil Dead, they were very kind of like dark and gritty and used like realistic practical gore effects. So maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre will return to form.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't got Trey Songz, good luck to them.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the greatest horror movies ever made. And like I said, I really love Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation because it's just so fucking strange.
Yeah, I feel
It's
like
got Matthew McConaughey with a robotic leg.
it's pretty fucking cool. He like squishes somebody's head.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
I'll be like, wild when he could speak in a different dialect.
Matthew McConaughey?
Don't come out here coming after Matthew McConaughey.
He's great, man. Come on.
You'll be a fan of him when he learns a new language?
No,
The
a new
dialect, so
dialect.
he's not talking.
So he's not.
Oh,
talking,
you mean
so
just
like-
not the same guy in every movie?
Yeah, there you go. Don't offend Tyler.
Are you telling me you didn't watch Sahara?
I did not.
It's great.
Some people are just like that, though. Some people just have that one thing, and it's great.
That's true.
Exactly. Next story. This one hits close to home for me.
Oh, okay, let's see.
Chuck E. Cheese is officially removing the animatronic band, Munch's Make Believe
This is-
Band,
this is
from
bad.
all of their restaurants.
This is trash.
Did they tell you why?
The band is trash.
Alright,
I'll tell
Tyler,
you
you-
exactly
Tyler's
why.
canceled, man.
Did I put what the guy said? Yeah. So back in 2017, they started the slow rollout of removing the animatronic bands from locations. They only did select locations as a test to see if they could increase the I almost said install base. I don't think that's like the term for getting customers at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Increasing the patronage of the restaurant. So they took the animatronic band out and then like redesigned the play area or whatever. And at the time, the CEO of Chuck E. Cheese, Tom Leverton, said, "A child today has such high expectations for entertainment that the animatronics, ever at their absolute best, can't live up to those expectations."
Oh, it's unfortunate. Yeah.
I mean, that's good. We're growing as a society.
And to that I say, Pirates of the Caribbean is as popular as it ever has been.
Did they update the animatronics like 5 years ago?
But it's still, he said
They updated parts of it.
Oh, okay.
a child today has such high expectations for entertainment that the animatronics, even at their absolute best,
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
can't live up to those
Yeah.
expectations.
Wait a second. I don't understand because I never went to Chuck E. Cheese, but I seen some pictures and there was some creepy looking stuff.
But
there.
that's
the
the
appeal.
appeal of it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
great.
But what they need to do is get rid of the pizza. Because
Yeah, exactly.
that pizza is shite.
Actually, that's not true.
That's
So-
100%
so-
He has
true.
kids.
So
He
so
has
Chuck E.
kids.
Cheese in the last I think it was like about 5 years ago when they did their their big rebrand or whatever, and part of their reboot or whatever, a restaurant being rebooted, was that they improved the recipe for their pizza, and Chuck E. Cheese pizza is actually pretty good. It's pretty good.
We gotta go, I guess. All five of us
When's the
grown
last time you
dudes
went?
are gonna
I don't got
head to
kids. I'm
Chuck
not
E.
gonna
Cheese.
go.
Last time was when I
Yeah.
went with my kids for
Meet me in
some
the
random
bomb pit.
birthday party. Granted, it wasn't 5 years ago, but Chuck E. Cheese's are just
The worst.
cesspools of sadness.
That's what's up.
They're
Cesspools of
they just
sadness.
make me sad.
I love.
Yeah.
I
Just
love,
smells
I mean,
like
they're
fried
sad.
cheese
They're
and
sad
divorce.
now.
Like,
It
Why
just,
though?
it just smells like a fight's about to happen.
Mm.
It really brings me down.
Yeah.
I've been to many a Chuck E. Cheese for my kids'
Wait,
birthday
a
parties.
fight between who?
No,
don't
it's like
know.
not even a fun fight. It's
The
like an
kid-
awkward
No,
fight
just like you
between
gotta
like
pick the
two
kids up like
divorcees.
this.
It feels like a parent's gonna fight another
Yeah.
parent.
I feel like that's
Absolutely.
you. That's something bubbling inside of you. I've never gone to a
Yeah,
Chuck E.
maybe.
Cheese and
I
thought
have.
a fight is going to erupt.
I just feel like it just feels like
Yeah, man.
stuff's about to go down in a Chuck E. Cheese.
If I was
That's
you,
not
Kurt,
good.
It goes
Yeah.
down in the Chuck E. Cheese.
That's
Yeah.
what's up, man.
I love Chuck E. Cheese. I loved it.
I never went,
did-
but
it
I
w-
could totally see Kirk in there. Like, yo, you looking at my kid?
Yeah, like,
Sit down.
I'm a showbiz
fix this
pizza
pizza.
place person myself.
Well, that's because they don't let you in Chuck E. Cheese anymore.
That's true.
Oh, we cannot.
I was
elaborate on
putting
that.
M80s in their toilets, guys. Don't be weird.
Hey,
That's a
what's
good.
worse?
That's a good deep cut though. Show,
M80s? Oh,
Showbiz,
Showbiz, yeah.
Showbiz Pizza was a competing pizza place back in the 80s,
Mhm.
and it was very similar to Chuck E. Cheese. It had a theme of like Hollywood, and they had an animatronic band, and it was called the Rockafire Explosion, and it was a big gorilla playing keyboard, and then a dog playing bass, and then like a bird playing drums, I think.
That's not the vibe.
And in the late 80s, Chuck E. Cheese bought out Showbiz Pizza and turned all Showbiz's into Chuck E. Cheese's, and they replaced the Rockafire Explosion with Munch's Make Believe Band. And the Rockafire Explosion was way better than Munch's Make Believe Band. Like, in many ways, it's kind of like a Beatles versus Beach
I was
Boys
really
thing, but-
hoping you were going with it. They played way better songs.
Yeah,
and
it's like
the,
they were
the
way more
musicality of those
original.
animatronics were
Man.
just so much better.
What,
It was
what
just a
it?
purer sound.
Yeah.
It was a cool.
The guitarist was
they were
well
just
trained.
they were just a better. It was the characters were cooler looking,
Mhm, that I
and
could see.
I think the animatronics of them were just better. Like they were more articulated and kind of like the Chuck E. Cheese band was a little bit more simplistic.
Robotic.
Oh, it was like almost like they downgraded then.
Yeah, there's a whole documentary called The Rockafire Explosion about a bunch of people who grew up loving the Rockafire Explosion, and then like whenever they closed them down and replaced them with Chuck E. Cheese's, and they got rid of the Rockafire Explosion, they were like very sad, and so they like dedicated their lives to like rebuilding their own versions of the Rockafire Explosion.
Oh my God.
And there's a guy who like he lives in like Kentucky or something, and he like has this shrine on his property, this house where he purchased and refurbished a Rockafire Explosion band, and then he learned how to program it, and so he sets it to like modern music, and then he charges admission for people to
Yes.
come watch it. And there's if you look up on the internet, there's a very funny video of one of his programs that he did where he had the Rockafire Explosion perform Miss New Booty by Bubba Sparks.
That's a classic.
But yeah,
They make documentaries about any old thing.
Yeah.
it's a very. I mean,
But also-
that's the point of documentaries.
also I'm
the,
hearing-
the small things are what end up being more fascinating.
all of the animatronics are now going to be up for sale. We should just buy a bunch of them. Kirk, this is specifically a pitch for you. I've had an idea for a rebranding of like a funk pizza place, and I think we should call it Funktown Pizza Palace. We get all of the Chuck E. Cheese mice, put Prince wigs on them, and make it a funk themed pizza place. I just made it up, but I want it so bad. Now.
I've
Give
always-
away your $300 ideas.
Yeah.
Like that, huh?
I'm not saying no.
Thank you.
I've always had an idea for a restaurant or whatever. I don't know if it's a restaurant. That I've always just like thought like this would do well. And I feel like especially now with how popular pop-ups are in LA, I've always wanted to do basically a like 1980s pizza place themed bar where it's like a creepy version of Chuck E. Cheese, where it's a bar, but it's done up like an 80s like Chuck E. Cheese type place, and it's all dirty and creepy, and like
Chuck E.
and it
Cheese?
has like the animatronic band, but it's like really creepy,
Ah.
and it's got like a David Lynch vibe to it, and then like there's like the version of Chuck E. Cheese, the costume character, like a costume mascot rat, but he like walks around and he's like super rude to everybody, and he's got like this really just like thick like Brooklyn accent,
I like that.
and I think that it would kill. I think that it would do so
Just
well.
walks around smoking cigarettes. Hey, what the fuck you doing in the ball pit?
Exactly.
Get out of there.
Exactly.
If you pitch that as like a surreal pop art piece, people will be like, "This Andrew Price is a genius."
Genius.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
You'd be right.
His commentary. He must like crappy movies because
He
he's
must
so
like
smart.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the removing all the animatronic bands is part of a sweeping redesign that will take effect in all 600 plus locations. It's already rolling out this week in several cities. The new redesign will completely overhaul both the inside and outside of the restaurant, attempting to make the store look more contemporary and hip. The location will also feature an interactive dance floor.
Ooh.
So
What does
Sounds
that
cool.
even mean?
it just means
Kind of
some-
like Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh
where you
yeah, but
can-
I was hoping it was like the big piano.
Oh,
these kids just don't know.
They're too smart for this.
Yeah, too smart.
They're too smart.
Yeah, replace it all with holograms of James Dean. Like that's
Yeah.
the new kick.
There you go.
that's what kids want.
That's what
Uh,
kids want.
That's what's up. Good job, Chuck E. Cheese people.
R.I.P. Munch's
Plus.
Make Believe Band.
Oh.
You'll be missed.
Don't know.
But low key, you're nothing compared to the Rock-afire explosion. Disney Plus accounts got hacked.
When you say hack, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's
Like somebody else watching Mandalorian?
do they got all my nudes?
No, they took.
I think they're specifically referring. They're
What?
spec-
Do you not keep your nudes on Disney Plus?
Nah, this guy got to go.
Oh, my bad.
I think they're specifically referring to when you guys all use my account to watch The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Since Disney Plus went live, attackers have stolen thousands of customers' accounts and put them up for sale in the dark web, according to a report.
oh.
People waited on telephone and online chat line for hours, and many still say that Disney has yet to sort their problems. But the firm says it does not believe its system has been compromised. Disney takes the privacy and security of our users' data very seriously, and there is no indication of a security breach on Disney Plus, a spokesperson said. But there's proof of this. There are several accounts that are up for sale on various dark web places, whatever you call that. Only hours after the service launched, hackers were selling Disney Plus accounts for as little as $3.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where? Just so I know where not to go.
You have to download.
Asking
it
for a
torrent.
friend.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The dark web. It doesn't
The
say
dark-
anything,
the
it doesn't
dark
say anything
web.
more specific
No,
than
I'm gonna
that.
stay away from that. Lou, get that on your phone.
Get the dark. You gonna act like Lou doesn't have the dark web on his phone already? Like
Lou's phone is dark.
I got an iPhone. I can't do it. I got an iPhone. I can't do it. I can't do it. You gotta-
You won't get an iPhone. You won't get a virus.
So what do
do
you
you
like?
know?
What do you do in that situation? Do you just
Ah.
do you change your password? Do you cancel your
Well, here's the
subscription?
so
Like-
here's the thing. Anybody who has a Disney Plus account, I would recommend right now change your password.
No. Well, yes, yeah.
Oh,
But-
you yeah.
So wait, they stole the accounts to let other people use that account.
Basically.
Not their credit card information, not their address or nothing, just to use the account.
Well, so I paid for a 3-year subscription, so I have 3 years of Disney Plus. It's already paid for. So if somebody stole my account, they don't need my credit card information. They have 3 years.
Right.
but who wants to
You
just?
are advertising yourself right now to get stolen.
Yeah.
So they just. I don't.
I
get
mean,
it.
try it.
No, they just
Try getting
it's
past
like,
my VPN.
It's
Yeah.
like getting.
Also, this episode's sponsored by Norton Husk.
No, so
Sponsor
it's
us.
so for the most part, you're saying you don't get it because you see that the value of Disney Plus is just so little.
Yeah, like what? You gonna get accounts to just watch Disney
Yeah.
Plus for 3 years?
Yeah.
You're describing exactly the appeal of
That's
stealing
the whole.
an
That's the
account.
whole
but
thing,
look,
man.
If you're going on a
You
dark
mean you
web,
just you think
if
somebody out
that's
there is just
also-
gonna
yeah,
like
that's what I'm
get
thinking.
something
Yeah, yeah.
for free and
No,
use
but
No,
it?
it's
if
$3
you go- if
still,
you
but
go
you're
liberal
wasting all this
bums-
time going onto the dark web. You gotta.
if you're going onto the dark web, you can
If
just
you
pirate
don't
it.
know, there's like 9 steps you have to take every single time you want to get onto the dark web, especially if
just
you
pirate
don't
it.
want to be like found out. And it's like it's such a hard thing to get $3 off your Disney Plus
Man,
subscription
you
that
just-
is
no, no,
probably
no,
going to
no,
get
no,
canceled
no,
next
no,
month.
no,
Understanding the math. What
And then you gotta get
The hardest part of
Bitcoin.
getting onto the dark web is when you have to sing "How Does It Feel" by D'Angelo and hit every single note perfectly.
That's fast.
That's hard for
Nah.
you?
You got to get Bitcoin.
I mean,
you
not
gotta
for
do
me.
all this
Oh,
other stuff.
Okay, good.
Nah,
I figured it wouldn't be
yeah,
hard for
you gotta
you.
do
You're
all
not
this-
doing the math right, Tyler.
Okay, good.
$3 is
Sure.
$3,
Uh-huh.
but the Disney Plus is a subscription.
Sure.
That's $7.
Oh, I see what
Do you
you're
know how much you could do with way more that you're saving right now? But you just went
But
on
here's-
Reddit
here-
and
You're
got the
I mean,
password.
you're right. That's $36
the thing.
It's
a
not
month.
Reddit. It's
It's
not Reddit.
$7 a month.
Yeah,
They're paying $3.
a month. Or
No, they're paying $3 to get access to account.
That's what I'm saying.
That probably
That's
that,
what I'm
I
saying.
thought you. I thought
Look,
they
look,
just like
that
got a
probably
subscription
has-
for $3 a
But look,
month.
But look
like,
at
people
this.
are
Okay.
dumb.
It's
That's-
like
that's
what
good.
Andrew just said though. You pay $3.
Uh-huh.
Somebody changed the password. Your $3 is gone. How you gonna?
no,
watch
but
whatever
they
you wanna
pay
watch?
for it, and then the people who stole it
Change your
they
password.
change the password.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
just give it
They
to you.
lock you out and
Oh,
they sell it.
Okay,
Yeah.
see,
They
that's
sell
left
it to
out.
somebody
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
So that part's left out because
you
I'm
buried
just
the
like,
lead.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Why?
okay, I see how that is now. But then that's kind of dumb now.
But you can
First
still
of all, that's
recover
dumb on
your
those
account.
parts. That's dumb on your part for you to get locked out of your own account and then not call Disney about it. Just be like,
No,
I
people
guess I'm
were
locked
calling
out,
Disney.
so I guess I'm not gonna use it. I'll get it. That doesn't make any
They
sense.
were calling.
And the second thing
people,
is
people are calling
Disney
Disney.
making it too easy.
Disney's making it too easy. What
They're
do you
making
mean?
it too easy to get hacked.
How so?
That's when I go back to Netflix. Like I've never been hacked on my Netflix.
that you know of.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Netflix has
Mm.
been hacked before. I think.
You ever go on your Netflix account and be like, I didn't watch 10 seasons of NCIS.
I mean, I do a
Some
lot of things when
grandpa
I'm sleeping,
must have
sleepwalking and
hacked
whatnot.
my Netflix.
Disney's a bunch of bums for this, man. They could have.
Damn.
They could have. They could fix it.
They're
They
gonna
could
get
fix
Baby Yoda on you, dude. You better be careful.
it. Nah, Baby
I still
Yoda.
don't see the point, man.
And Baby
You
Yoda.
go on the dark web and do this. It's just too.
That's
much.
there's more important things to do on the dark web.
Just pirate it. If you got access to the dark web, you know how to
That's-
pirate stuff.
That's also true.
Don't
you're like
waste the time.
you're wasting money to
to
see
go
shit
get
you
Bitcoin
already saw.
and you got to do this. And
I
you
feel
gotta,
the two
don't
of you
have to do- you
know
could just
far
do
too
it
much
on-
about the dark web.
on PayPal.
You
I
can
do my
never know too
research,
much
man.
about the dark web.
I just do my research.
Nice.
Just Google. it.
We mentioned
I
the
don't know,
dark
man. It's
web.
I just thought they would have took credit card information or something. Like it's weird.
Oh, I'm sure they do, but they sell that on a different
I
site.
mean, that's a whole it's a whole
Yeah.
separate thing.
I'm sure it's on Reddit.
The passwords?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Maybe.
probably.
You never know.
We're not advertising this though. That's illegal and piracy is wrong.
Facts.
So once you change your password on Disney Plus,
Mhm.
you can immediately go to the bottom of the Disney Plus app or website, click on the help section. After clicking on the help section, there is an option located on the far right that says give feedback. After clicking there, a drop-down menu appears and the option to request a film or show of it is available. After clicking on that option, users can request up to 3 titles before hitting the submit button. Disney Plus is taking requests
For what?
But just
for stuff to put on Disney Plus.
for Disney,
Disney,
content,
you gotta
other Disney
stop that.
content?
They gotta take it easy. They don't want your stuff.
Yeah, first of all, you don't pay me. I'm not gonna give you free suggestions.
You better say it.
Free suggestions
But
is
now
for
I
things
have
you
to
would want to
stop.
see.
Hang on.
Go ahead, Kirk.
What?
Say exactly what I'm thinking. Say it, Kirk.
I don't know what you're gonna say, but
Okay.
wait. Your thing is, I don't work for you.
Doing
I'm
your
not
job
gonna
for
give
you.
You better recognize
ideas.
when you go to the store and you got to do self checkout. I always think I don't work here.
Oh, that's not what I.
Whenever
I love.
you're-
I love self checkout.
When
Yeah,
you're at
that's
a
when you
when
give
you're at
yourself
a when you're at a concert and somebody shouts "Play Free Bird," you go,
I'm just like,
"Don't
you're-
give them free advice."
Yeah, no, you gotta get that cut.
why
I'm not- yeah.
is Tyler at a Skinner concert?
First of all,
Well, they say
How
Free
dare
Bird at
you?
every concert. It's just like a joke.
But yeah,
Leonard
no,
Skinner's
but
amazing.
Why?
I mean, not
But-
not current Leonard
no,
Skinner.
no, no.
Like-
Ooh.
It's just a fun thing for people to do. They feel that they're connecting and they're being interactive. I won't do it, but I think that it's
But
a nice gesture.
Are they telling us that there's Disney content that they haven't put on there, or just content
There's-
outside of Disney's?
There's tons of Disney
Yeah, there's
stuff
tons
that
of
they
stuff.
haven't put on there.
Oh, that seems dumb.
I would request from the put the Zorro TV show on there because they only have the sign of Zorro. They have one Zorro movie.
Oh.
They need to put all the rest of the Zorro stuff on there. 'cause
Don't
it's
give him
fucking
advice
amazing.
for free.
Yeah.
Don't give it to him.
What? Why?
I love that
makes
this
me
advice
mad.
is
He paid
this
for it
advice
already.
from
Yeah.
Tyler is so valuable. He's like, I ain't giving away.
You better recognize because
Nah.
the one look, you give them one idea and it makes them $1 billion, and you're
Exactly.
sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Exactly.
Give them-
paying them to watch what
Exactly.
you said you wanted
Yes,
to watch.
King.
Give them
Tell
one idea
them.
for the thing that they already have.
Let me ask you a question, Kirk.
Sure.
Was Star Wars one idea? Let me ask you this, Andrew.
This is-
was
no,
Pirates
I
of the
don't-
Caribbean
I-
one idea?
This is
Lou,
a thing.
Was Dumbo one idea?
It wasn't, but I'm confused. I don't know.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on anymore either.
This
We
is
gotta
a
get lost in
signature
this.
Kelby thing. He says a thing that is gibberish in a way like he just dropped the mic,
Yeah.
and he
Guys,
didn't say a real thing.
I said a real thing. When I say all these entities that I just mentioned, was Star Wars one idea? Yes, it was somebody's one idea. And then it blew up and became this thing. So if I'm relating
But
it
that
back to the
idea
fact that
wasn't. You already made this thing. I want to watch it.
innovation,
Can
man.
you put it onto the platform?
You're thinking too small.
Yeah.
Besides,
Because there's something out there that they are thinking. There's somebody in an office somewhere saying, "Don't put that out. That's a dumb idea." And then you tell them, "Yeah, put that out." When you could have said, "Yo, set up the meeting. It's a business consulting meeting. I'll give you advice, but you got to pay me for it. You got to give me my cut."
First of all, we just had this conversation last night that you have to think ahead and you have to realize that you might need to give away some stuff for free up front
Oh, that's
in
true.
order to pay off later. An example of that is the guy who invented garlic knots. He sent an unsolicited letter to Pizza Hut saying you should have a thing where you take pizza dough and you twist it up into these little balls and you put garlic and cheese on it.
It was patented, right?
And he just suggested that. and they actually brought him down. They gave him ownership over the patent of it, and he's a millionaire now.
Wait, so he did that before patenting, like before owning
Yeah,
it?
he just
Oh, he's
suggested
crazy.
it.
He's crazy.
But he's a millionaire now.
He took a chance.
That's just like
that's not gonna
they're-
happen
They're
all the
being
time.
kind.
Fortune
But
favors the
Disney
bold.
Disney has a history of
I mean,
taking
you're right,
from
but
people.
This isn't that bold.
Disney
That's
has
not-
a history of taking
this
from
is-
people
this
and not
is-
paying them. Think about the Lion King song that they stole, and the person who created the song died poor, penniless. They took that as feedback,
The
huh?
Lion King song?
Yeah, the Lion King song,
Circle of Life.
Circle of Life. They stole that song. Of course, they're gonna just say to you, it's just feedback,
Yeah.
but it's not feedback.
Maybe-
it's how we can make more money off of you.
Oh my god.
God damn it,
God
Tyler.
damn it, Tyler.
Just don't move.
That's a
Alright,
nice
that's
catch.
fine. That was a good
Yeah,
catch.
Yeah, that's how I
But-
do it. You understand what I'm
I
saying?
did not
figured we
expect it
needed
to
a
get that
break
deep.
from this conversation.
Man, forget
It
I
did,
did
well,
not
it's because
expect it to get that
it didn't need to get that deep.
Oh, I mean,
But
you know,
no, I mean you're right though.
content
exactly.
kings, baby.
But
Content
but
kings.
let's state for the record, garlic knots are great.
Garlic knots are fantastic,
Yeah,
and he
100%.
deserves
Yeah.
way more than $1 million.
That man
yes.
was ahead of his
That
time.
man
Johnny
is a
Knots,
genius, and God bless him.
he's a good man.
Johnny Knots.
You guys ready
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do this.
to
What's
get goosebumps?
All right, man. You said too many things like that now. You're at a cap for the day.
Because R.L. Stine's Point Horror TV show is happening at HBO Max. HBO Max has an all-new horror anthology series headed our way based on Stine's Point Horror novels. The horror anthology series, which is headed our way from Picture Start and Lionsgate Television, is being described as a show that will expose the horrors of being a teenager. The series will be helmed by John M. Chu, director of G.I. Joe Retaliation, Now You See Me Too, and Crazy Rich Asians. So obviously, a track record that shows he's good at directing horror movies. Strange choice, but we'll see.
I don't see it. Oh, you're being sarcastic.
Yes. Point Horror was a series of young adult horror fiction books launched by Scholastic Inc. back in 1991. While Stine wasn't the only author to write books under the banner, he had some notable ones. The Babysitter Quadrilogy, The Boyfriend, The Girlfriend, The Dead Girlfriend, The Snowman, The Hitchhiker, and The Witness. This was a precursor to Goosebumps. So this isn't quite as exciting as there's going to be a new Goosebumps show. But there's probably definitely going to be a new Goosebumps show
Yeah, definitely.
within the year.
Yeah.
But until that happens inevitably, what can tide us over is this different, R.L. Stine, he didn't only write Goosebumps. He wrote the Fear Street books. I was never too much into the Fear Street books. I was definitely a Goosebumps guy all the way. But I did read these books. I read all 4 of the Babysitter books. And they are like a slightly older version of Goosebumps. It's like if Goosebumps is for like 12-year-olds,
Mhm.
the Point Horror books are for like 15-year-olds. So they say damn.
Ooh.
The D word was in the book.
You gotta chill, man. You gotta chill.
The babysitter, she spilled her
sponsor.
her can of Coke and she said the D word.
Would you let how old is it? Is cool for that? Like 12, 13?
35.
That's what's up.
I still haven't said the D word.
Yeah.
Even though I just said it, so my joke is ruined.
Come on.
Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a blurred line. Like there's this period from like the time that you are. I mean, my 3-year-old son has said motherfucker, so
What?
he doesn't know what he's saying. He just hears it and then he like says it.
Did he use it right? Like, how do you say it?
Did he
Yeah.
use it right?
Yeah, he said, "Dad, you're a motherfucker."
He has called me a cuck before.
But again, spot on.
What did you do? Like, what?
You know what a
Why?
cuck does.
No, but what did he do? Like,
I
why?
watched while somebody fucked his mom.
Don't. You can't. This is live.
He's gonna see this later and be like, "What?"
He's
I
gonna
gotta
see
take
this.
this off my
That's not
page.
who I'm worried about seeing this.
I gotta take this off the page. That's crazy. We always take a left.
I let
Like,
my
it was
mom
cool
know
for
we
a
were
quick
doing
second.
this.
And then Andrew comes
This one's for you,
know.
Mrs. Palo.
Oh my gosh, man. Ah.
Oh man.
Shout out to the mom though.
I don't know why he called me a cuck. It was,
Nah, we're going back to RL stuff.
But I feel like there's like a little weird gray area from the time that you're like 6 until you're like 13 or 14, where like you find excuses. Like my little brother, when he was young, he used to always be like, he used to always go around saying, "damage," and it was like he was trying to say "damn," but like in a way where he was allowed to. So he would say damage.
Whenever we were in the car, I would always make my dad like play the songs with the cuss words in it. Because we would listen to like Hotel California and it says hell. And I was like, back in the day, hell was a bad word, but I would sing hell real hard. I was like, hell. And my dad didn't react. I was like, fuck yeah.
and then he beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Well, you see how Tyler turned out.
Yeah. Tall.
Yeah, something like that.
2 pieces of news.
All right.
Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix as the Clown Prince himself, directed by Todd Phillips, writer and director of the Hangover trilogy.
Yeah.
Old School. Road Trip, I think.
Road Trip.
It is the first rated R film in history
Come on.
to make $1 billion worldwide in the box office.
That's what's up.
It officially made $1 billion.
I love things that make money. But the movie wasn't all that great, but either way,
Wow.
I thought it was a cool movie.
Again,
it was cool.
you're
It was fun.
wrong, and it was a great movie.
I mean, I didn't say it was bad. It just wasn't all that great. But yeah, that's what's up.
I actually haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
I saw a clip from it where he's on the talk show,
Yeah, that's probably the.
and I thought that scene was really good.
Mm.
It made me want to watch the movie.
It's not a bad movie. I think if you watch it for the purposes of entertainment, you'll be like, okay, this is cool. And then you try to grasp little things from it, you'll be like, all right, this is cool. But for
You're just
me,
describing a good movie.
Did
But-
we talk about
If
it
you
on the
watch
podcast?
it, you'll like
it,
like
and I'm
it,
not
and
saying
the
it's
things
bad.
about it will be good to you.
I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just when you really think about it, there are certain aspects of the film to me that don't make sense. When you watch it, maybe you'll be able to see it. But for me, it was just like something that I'm watching, and I'm like, I understand why you want me to feel a certain kind of way, but then again, it's like you're not giving me everything that to get me there. It was just like the car is, but it's not starting, you know. But either way, it's good. Like if you don't really think too much about it, you'll be like, oh, this is a dope movie.
Well, then you might not like to hear this news,
All right.
but Joker 2 is officially happening.
Well, that has to happen. When the movie made $1 billion,
there's no way it wasn't
Boom.
going to happen.
If they didn't make Joker 2, then I would say this is the dumbest group of people to ever make a movie. I would make Joker 2. I would greenlight Joker 3. I'd greenlight Joker 7. But yeah, he comes back as an Italian guy.
4 through 6.
Now forget that.
obviously.
I'll say, he comes back as a black guy, black Joker. Hey, female Joker. There'd be every Jokers.
Every Joker's.
Every Jokers.
Yeah.
Joker from next Friday.
That'd be
Put him in
scary.
Ice Cube Joker.
Baby Joker.
Snoop Joker. There'll be a different Joker movie every 6 months.
Yeah.
$1 billion. Psh.
Here's some interesting box office information about the Joker. In addition to it being the first R-rated film to make $1 billion worldwide, it's also the third non-Disney or Universal movie to do so in just under a year. The other two being Aquaman and Spider-Man: Far From Home.
It's Disney again.
Aquaman did that good?
Yeah.
Aquaman, I like
Holy
Aquaman.
shit.
Those two films made it to $1 billion with the help of China's box office figures, whereas Joker hasn't played in China. All it needs to do now is pass The Dark Knight, and it'll be the biggest movie to never play in China.
Wow.
Whoa.
Which is
Because it was too violent.
Which is actually I think there's like a thing where like they're not allowed to portray clowns.
Okay,
Like clowns aren't allowed to be in movies in
Yeah.
China.
that makes sense because like
And the whole message is kind of anti-China. If you didn't watch it, you don't know.
Oh, is it?
You'll get it.
Yeah, I mean that's it's probably both, but I do like China has a lot of weird
Oh.
rules. Like you're not allowed to show ghosts or clowns or Winnie the Pooh.
I
Well,
get
the
when
Winnie the
he wasn't
Pooh.
wearing no pants.
Well, the Winnie the Pooh is because their leader like gets made fun of for looking like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like any arbitrary thing that they want to contraband, they just do it.
Okay, well, shout out to China.
That's insane because China is the biggest film market in the fucking world. Like when people want to make money, they have to do well in China because that is how you make the money. And this movie made $1 billion without playing in a single theater in the biggest film market in the entire world.
I want to ask you this question, but you didn't watch the movie, so I'm gonna ask these guys this:
Mhm.
Do you think that the Joker is doing so well because it is a decent movie and because of who the Joker character is, or do you think if they renamed the movie and had nothing to do with Batman, if they just called it Shulker, would it do the same numbers?
No, it's because of three things. It's because people like the movie. It's because of the Joker,
Mhm.
the IP, and it's because of all of the controversy that surrounded the movie before it came out. The whole thing,
Which was
just the whole thing about how people were saying
It would
like it's going to
inspire-
cause shootings
Oh, yeah,
and
okay,
all that
right.
stuff. Like whether or not that was purposeful, it was either a purposeful publicity stunt to build hype around the movie, or they lucked out. So it was the luckiest thing that ever happened to that movie,
Mhm.
that it became that controversial thing.
there's a challenge for it too. You can go to Brooklyn or something like that and take pictures on the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
And people are getting-
That's a challenge? Oh,
it's
okay.
like
It's in the
crazy
Bronx,
because
the
it's
Bronx.
like
Yeah,
it's
people
a
are-
super dangerous spot.
People are getting mad because it's like gentrifying that area of the Bronx.
oh gosh,
No, people are getting robbed there.
yeah, they're getting robbed trying to take these pictures.
Yeah.
No, don't go out dancing on the steps, people. I'm trying to tell you.
I just hang out. I just be like every 30 minutes, a rich Instagram influencer
It's gonna come.
dressed like a clown is going to show up.
yeah, I'm a rival. I mean,
Yeah, did we flip to be on the robbers' sides? I'm okay with it. Listen,
Well,
that's,
that's
the
the
whole.
point of
That's
the
the whole
movie.
Joker.
Yeah, the point
Yeah,
of the
like that
movie.
was it.
Hey man,
So possibly in response to the fact that the Joker made $1 billion worldwide, which is they officially beat out Deadpool 2 as the highest grossing rated R movie ever, or maybe it was the first one that was. They
Probably the
both
first
made a lot of money. But around the time that this all was going on, it was announced that Deadpool 3 is in development. According to close sources, Deadpool 3 will be here in 2022. Zazie Beetz and Josh Brolin are both expected to return alongside Ryan Reynolds.
okay.
Zazie Beetz, get Zazie Beetz in your movie,
She's
and
Absolutely.
you'll make $1 billion.
Absolutely.
you know who I compare her to, not in the same style of talent, but how quickly, quote unquote, because she's been working for a while. But you know, Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith,
Yes.
Yeah, her and
Yeah.
and they're on Atlanta
Yes.
together. So she's kind of rising on that level where she's in a $1 billion movie. She's in Atlanta. She was in something else recently too that I can't remember, but her star power is jumping.
See,
So give me the
I would-
money. I'll hire her.
We
for
were talking
sure.
about Zoe Saldana a couple days ago, or maybe
Yeah.
like a week ago,
Yeah.
and that's kind of who it was reminding me of, because like Zoe Saldana was in a bunch of movies, but then
Yep.
after Columbiana just shot right up in Hollywood.
Everybody thinks of Zoe Saldana as Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mhm.
I think of her as the security guard from Terminal.
Damn, you a special kind of
Jesus
person.
Christ.
I don't know that movie.
It's a movie about a Kazakhstani
Oh, it's the Tom Hanks movie.
It's a
immigrant
Tom Hanks movie,
who
yeah.
had to
movie.
live in the airport based on a weird immigration loophole where he came to the United States and wasn't allowed to step onto U.S. soil, but he also wasn't allowed to fly back to Kazakhstan.
Mhm.
So he just had to live in the airport for decades. And he's played by Tom Hanks.
Well,
Decades?
all I
It's a
got to say about that is give Paula.
Maybe it
Patton
wasn't
a
decades. He
chance.
lived
It wasn't
he lived there
decades.
for a while. I
Yeah,
forget.
I'm
I
pretty
have-
sure. I think
I
it was
haven't
like
seen the movie in a
couple
while,
years, but
but it's a true story.
Shoot, I guess it works for some people. It don't, because that makes me think of Paula Patton, because you know she's in that Tom Hanks movie that I love.
Forrest Gump.
No, not Tom Hanks movie. Tom Cruise. Sorry,
Oh,
Tom Cruise.
Rock
Mission
of
Impossible,
Ages.
Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol.
She was in that, and then after that, it was just like, man, we don't see her anymore.
Paul,
So-
which one is she?
Paula Patton. She used to be married to the singer Robin Thicke.
Oh,
yeah. Wait, wasn't she in the third one too?
She was in Ghost Protocol.
Which one is she?
She's the black lady. That fights, like her and Jeremy Piven or Jeremy. Or,
Wait, is she a love interest?
Renner, Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner.
I'm blanking on that character.
She's like light skin. She has a really
the only thing I
strong
know of the name Paula Patton is just how like Robin Thicke like cheated on her and then he
Oh,
tried to
yeah.
get her back and she divorced him.
Nah,
or
she
whatever.
got talent.
I'll have to look that up because I didn't even know she was an actress.
But also, yeah, fuck yeah, Deadpool 3.
Yeah, Deadpool 3. I
All
mean,
the Ryan
maybe I'll go
Reynolds.
watch it.
Do you think we're
I
oversaturating
don't
the
remember
market with
that character.
Ryan Reynolds movies? Do you think anybody's gonna get tired of Ryan Reynolds?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm just asking
Never.
the question because I know I'm me, and
You are you.
thank you.
Yeah,
Are you
he's
saying
very
because
much
we all
himself.
get very tired of you immediately?
That's really sad.
Are we saying that Tyler's Ryan Reynolds?
I don't.
No, we're saying
I
he's
don't
the
know how to
nega-
feel
he's the
about what's go-
negative. He's the
I'm-
opposite of Ryan
yeah,
Reynolds.
because
He's Brian Reynolds.
I'm Brian Reynolds. Okay.
All right, well, shout out to Ryan.
Ryan Reynolds is a
'cause
national treasure.
Nobody
Yeah,
believed in him
absolutely.
to make that, and
And the most exciting thing is there's been a lot of uncertainty because Disney famously bought Fox.
Yes.
And Deadpool is a Fox property. Fox owned the rights to the X-Men stable of characters, and Deadpool was part of that. And obviously, Disney owns Marvel, and they own their stable of characters, so they acquired Fox. So now all of the Fox Marvel properties are part of the MCU. And there was a lot of people saying, like, now that that's happening, are they going to make Deadpool like a PG movie? And,
there's
and
a
fit it?
solution to that.
But it's official. Deadpool 3 is going to be rated R.
Damn, Disney.
Easy. Instead of saying Disney's putting out, they're gonna put that old Mara Vista label on
Mara
there.
Vista label.
Hey, we didn't do this. Mara Vista did.
We don't own this company at all.
But more than that, more than what banner it's underneath, it's more like how does that tone of that movie fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? But apparently they're going to figure it out. Those are the big stories for the day. Now we're going to talk about season 3 of a show on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. Premiered a couple days ago.
Check it out.
And if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend checking it out. Go on Netflix. It's called The Toys That Made Us, and it's a documentary series about the history and behind the scenes of all of your favorite toy lines. So each episode focuses on one toy line from the 70s through the 90s and goes through the whole history of its creation. It's a good show. I love it. If you didn't know, all of these on this desk are mine, and this represents maybe 10% of my collection here at work, which represents maybe 40% of my entire collection.
This stuff, everything you have here at work.
No, I have some stuff here at work.
I'm saying everything you have here at work is
40%.
this and the other stuff, is
And
40%?
more stuff.
Is 40%?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we watched the first episode of season 3, which is about my favorite toy line and my favorite thing from my childhood, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I definitely know what I think about this. If anybody out there has the belt for that, I'd be willing to buy it for
Wow.
$5.
Yeah, boy.
How high would you go? 5 or
$5.
$5.
It's only worth $5.
What about
$5?
50?
No, it's only worth $5.
Because I got a guy on Facebook.
This with the belt max, this is worth $25.
Oh.
Don't pay any more than $25 for this.
Wow.
All right.
People try to trick people because there's something in toy and comic collecting called the speculator market, which is where people artificially inflate the value of toys and comics by pretending like they're going to be worth something someday, and they're not.
So how do you know?
Tyler,
How do you
it
tell?
looks like you're looking up its butt.
I was reading it.
Wait,
For the
it's
past
from
minute, it
1989.
looks like you've been like inspecting.
It's got
How
a
do
nice
how do I know what?
Is that
Let me
market
see his
like
butt.
if you know, or is it kind of like if I was at a yard sale or something? How can I look at this and go, all right, this is not the same as this, so
You have
this
a
is worth more
phone.
than X, Y, and Z.
It's just that it's that particular one. This is a commonly known part of the Ninja Turtles toy line.
That people get
It's a
finessed
it's a
on.
giant sized Leonardo, and it's from the 90s, early 90s, and it's worth $25.
So people get bamboozled by going, oh, this is bigger.
Yeah,
this
people
is shiny."
trick naive people into being like, it's an old thing, it's really valuable, $70. But sometimes you can get the opposite, where you go to a place where they don't realize how much it's worth, and then you can go to a yard sale or something and somebody's selling it for like $2. So you get that and you're like, hell yeah. If you want to collect toys, you need to bone up on the current market value of things and never pay more than what something's actually worth, and don't let someone trick you into thinking that it's worth more. Toys and comics are not worth anywhere near what people act like they're worth. So yeah, we watched the show. What did you guys think?
About the show, it's okay. Ninja Turtles, cool. I like Ninja Turtles. I didn't know things I didn't know. That's
It's gonna
why
break your heart right now.
no. It's very informative that because I only know them from the 80s cartoon and then the movies from the 90s. So I always thought that they were for kids. I didn't know that there was like these comic books that were kind of dark and violent, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, which were two artists who met in their 20s, and they instantly connected over their love for comics, particularly the works of legendary comic artist Jack Kirby.
Oh, it says that they met in Dover, New Hampshire.
Mhm.
And let me tell you something. I've gotten fucked up at Dover.
That's what I like to hear.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
what's up.
I saw Teenage Turtles
I've
in
got
Dover. I'll
fucked up.
tell you.
I went to.
Fucked Up in Dover is a great Waylon Jennings album.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
real underrated. No,
That's what's
I
up, Derek.
literally was like, oh my God, they were like in Dover. Dover is a little town outside of the school I went to college. And I was like, yeah, shit's gone down in Dover.
Yeah,
It
that's
goes
the
down in
vibe right
Dover, I'll
there.
tell you.
Yeah.
You did a little couple things.
Some things happen in Dover.
Alright.
What if
Something
what if
strange
when you were
James Kirk?
what if when you were fucked up in Dover, you were at a bar and you saw these two guys and you were like, "Hey, listen, just hear me out.
got
Hang on, guys.
Hear me out. So they're turtles, but they're ninjas,
And they're
And you-
mutants.
and you created the Ninja Turtles."
And I didn't even
That
know
might
it.
be it.
Yeah.
That'd be great if in the documentary, they're like, yeah, we're at this bar and some drunk idiot came up to us and was like, hey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you can have it. And we did. No, never saw from him
And
again.
then he just pissed in a corner and
Yeah.
and cried.
Wait, but isn't that their story? Like they were fucked up, they were drinking, and then
Yeah.
they just started drawing turtles.
yeah. They
He just kept yelling "Cowabunga"
I don't
as he
know,
walked
man.
out of the
Kirk-
room.
might
Maybe
be.
it was me.
Probably was you, man.
there's a myth about the creation of the Ninja Turtles, and it was created by religious fundamentalists. So there was a big thing in the late 80s, early 90s called the Satanic Panic, and it's when it became this huge national crisis that people thought that cartoons and Dungeons and Dragons were corrupting the nation's youth and turning them into Satanists, and it was like it dominated the news cycle, and it was spearheaded largely by religious fundamentalists, and it became this huge thing that blew up and everybody was talking about it, and there was burnings of toys and Dungeons and Dragons modules and stuff like that. These people that were just obsessed with controlling people's behavior, and so they would take something like the Ninja Turtles and then they would like reverse engineer the concept and then like make up a reason why it was satanic. So they'd be like, Harry Potter is satanic because they're wizards and witches and witchcraft is for the devil, or like Pokemon is satanic because they're demons and people are being controlled by these demons or whatever. Ninja Turtles was one of them, and there was this big myth that was created by these people that would go on to TV shows, onto daytime talk shows, and just preach about how the evils of like modern pop culture. And the story was that the creators of Ninja Turtles made it up while they were in a bar getting drunk. And it was they were basically just being like, these things were created by two drunks in a bar, and that's not Christian behavior or whatever. But in reality, they were just hanging out at their house.
Yeah.
And they were trying to make each other laugh. And Kevin Eastman, he drew just a picture of a turtle with nunchucks. And he was just trying to make Peter laugh. And then Peter drew his version of it. And they just kept drawing back and forth. And it was basically like a realistic looking turtle standing upright with a bandana and then like nunchucks like taped to its like stub arms. And then after that night, they started being like, there's something to that. And so they started developing it. They started a comic book company called Mirage Studios. They did a single issue of Ninja Turtles, which was highly inspired by the works of Frank Miller. Frank Miller was a comic book artist and writer. He wrote and drew The Dark Knight Returns. He created Sin City. He did a very successful run of Daredevil. So the first issue of Ninja Turtles is like very much a Frank Miller style story. It's like gritty and black and white, and it's these turtles like running through the night, and having these really like stark narrations, like I'm running in the shadows. So much so that the origin story of the Ninja Turtles is actually directly tied to Daredevil's origin story. So Daredevil's origin story is that he was a young boy and he went to cross the street, and there was this truck going by, and the truck had these canisters of toxic waste in them, and one of the canisters of toxic waste fell off the truck and hit him in the face, and it blinded him. He went blind from getting conked in the head. And in the origin story of the Ninja Turtles, that canister of radioactive ooze fell into the sewer and shattered, and there was like 4 little baby turtles, and they got the radioactive ooze on them, and it mutated them into Ninja Turtles. So they, in theory, the Ninja Turtles exist in the same universe as Daredevil, but that's not official. That's not canon. That's just like what. That's just like what the story that
Well,
they
the
came up with.
Daredevil's secret shadow organization is called the Hand, right?
Yeah, it's called the Hand.
And-
A lot of Ninja Turtles is like a parody of Daredevil.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so
I was like the
so
foot.
in Daredevil it's called the Hand. So in Ninja Turtles it's called the Foot. Daredevil's mentor was named Stick. So the Ninja Turtles mentor is named Splinter.
Gotcha.
So it's it's a parody of
Gotcha.
Daredevil.
What about this documentary you pulled you in? Because I watched that series too, but like the way you just explained that showed that you paid, like your perspective on it is a lot more like different than what pulls me into it. So like,
What pulled you into it? I mean, what pulled me into it is I love toys. I've been collecting them my entire life. I love stories behind how things are made. I love the politics of like pop culture. The idea of like all the things that happen behind the scenes to get this toy line created is super fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's what pulled me
So
in.
that's why I watch it.
That's what pulled me in, because like watching it, seeing how like it started off with the toys, but when they tried to get the toys made, they basically told them like there's no storyline to this, and then they had to go back and create the cartoon and the characters and the stories behind it. So I was like, all right, this is how you set up horizontal integration, like how you create something that has a story and then sell toys. So I look at it and apply like, okay, what can I take from this, and like later on like use it. So that's why I like watching those. But for me, it was like the story and everything. I was just like, cool, it's turtles, it's this, it's that, and then like I don't know, it was just weird. So it was seeing it from a different perspective on what goes on. It's not just toys, and then how they also released the same 4 characters but just threw different skins on them. I was like, all right, Fortnite is basically repeating that same thing where it's like you just buy different skins, the same character, nothing different, but they come out with different like I guess costumes for them.
It's super smart. It's like you can make 4 turtles and sell those, and they go like gangbusters, and they're super popular. And then it's like, okay, so we did that. We made a ton of money. Let's make a ton more money by making them cavemen.
So I watched it. As a person who doesn't like anything about the Ninja Turtles, as a person who
You don't like
watched
anything about it?
I don't like anything about the Ninja Turtles.
You're
I
bad.
watched it.
What
as-
about their martial arts?
Don't care.
No, the personalities.
0. I couldn't even tell you
The pizza?
who's Donatello and who's
Oh,
Ricardo
God.
or whatever.
No,
I don't care.
No,
But-
Yeah, Ricardo.
stop
that's my
it.
favorite.
Stop it.
Don't know, don't care. But this documentary series or episode spoke to me in a completely different way, Andrew, because it wasn't about Ninja Turtles. To me, it was about 2 people. It was about 3 people and what they thought they were versus what everyone else thinks they are. And that story to me is more compelling than the Turtles. Because when that 3rd guy who came in and said that he was the 5th Ninja Turtle, to me that sounds like ka-ching. I believe in something and I'm going to add myself to it, because he wasn't in that room. Andrew, he wasn't in the room when he made the Turtles, but he made those Ninja Turtles. So when he said I had a business card and a suit,
A rented
and he
suit.
was in a rental suit, Tyler, and then he just went out and did what he had to do to make it what it became,
Yeah.
to me, that's the story.
I like
Yeah.
how it was edited too.
That
edited.
was my next point. They edited that thing to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Because again, don't care about the Turtles, but it's deeper than that. And then it gets to the point where they're talking about their friendship. You know how they tell you some people don't get into business with your friends?
That's true.
You see how successful that those 2 guys got, but at the end of it all, it seems like, was it even worth it?
Hell yeah.
The next thing that I have to, well, maybe because they lost their friendship.
But
And
they
then the
got
next
it.
thing I got to talk about is sometimes, is it right to bend, break, or fold? One guy got a piece of that 60 million. The other one didn't.
He got the full 60 million.
One guy got 60 million. Well, I'm sure it's split around, but any other guy didn't, over a female turtle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
It
I
was
thought.
pride. It's probably pride, maybe. That's probably the deeper thing. Pride.
Well, he just didn't. He took the position of like, this is what the Ninja Turtles are. We're not going to add another character. It wasn't about that it was a female or
But-
whatever. It was just like, there are 4 turtles.
and they agreed on it too. from
We
the
do
beginning.
not. I don't want there to be another turtle. I don't want to change the story. He was so steadfast to that he folded.
I thought it was because
But,
they
like-
agreed from
And he
the
lost.
beginning.
And he
Like,
lost his cut.
That's what it was.
That's what it sounded
that's
like
what
until the other dude was like, I ain't agreed to nothing. man. I'm
Exactly.
trying
That's
to
what I'm
get
saying.
some
It's
money."
like in the beginning, like they talking about like how it was filmed and how it was edited. Like they told a story because the moment he like they made a point of mentioning is like we had a 3-person handshake. I was like, that's not gonna last. The moment he said like we had a handshake based on none of this changes, we have 100% of the control of what happens. I was like, that's not gonna last.
You would be surprised
Absolutely not.
how much business is done with just a handshake.
I know, but don't trust it because you need a
But they were
contract.
To me,
friends.
it wasn't the business.
But they're not friends anymore.
What to me, what the handshake the handshake stood the test of time because he gave up his share of the
Yeah, he
of the
sold it.
product. He sold it.
Alright.
So to me, it was more like, bro, you could have made 60 million, and if I was the other dude, I slid him 1.5. You know, just I came up.
The
with
whole
it.
thing is like crazy because it's like they did the next mutation. Peter Laird did not want to be involved in it because he didn't like that they were adding a 5th turtle. So he was like, I want nothing to do with it. You go off and do it. They did the next mutation. Kevin Eastman, did it with Saban, and it was a huge flop. And then Kevin Eastman decided that he wanted to do other things, so Peter Laird bought him out. So it wasn't like Peter Laird like bowed out because he was the one that retained the all the rights.
right.
And so Kevin Eastman went off, didn't get his 60 million when somebody came around, when Nickelodeon came around wanting to buy the property, and they sold it to Nickelodeon. And then oddly enough, at the end of the day, even though Peter Laird was the one that stuck around and kept all the rights, it ended up being Kevin Eastman who went and then just became a consultant for all of the shows and
He got
movies.
a job.
So he no longer an owner; he became an employee
Yeah.
of Ninja Turtles.
It's really sad.
And Peter
I'm
Laird,
sure he's fine.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he's fine, but it's
Yeah.
like thinking about
Consulting.
this, it's like you used to be the one who's overseeing and now you're looking up.
Well, he's
But it's like-
consulting. He's
but-
not like Office Page.
Oh,
He's
that's true.
actually
He's not delivering the mail.
Yeah, he's consulting on the thing that
Right.
he created. Can we talk real quick about holy fuck, Chuck Lorre?
yeah,
What?
I talked about that on the
He's
last
so
episode.
random.
Yeah, but I probably wasn't listening.
Yeah, and you left.
I specifically told you guys that he wrote the Ninja Turtles theme song.
That's
I'm
great.
going to say that you didn't say that.
I did. Not only did
I
I,
didn't hear
do
him
it,
say
but
that at
I
all.
said, fun fact:
Todd.
Peter Lorre wrote the theme song for the original,
But it's Chuck Lorre.
1986
Chuck Lorre.
Ninja Turtle
Chuck
show,
Lorre.
and then you,
Chuck Lorre. You said Peter.
oh, Peter Lorre,
Yeah.
that would be
That's
amazing.
his
That would be
cousin.
great.
Peter
That's his
Lorre
cousin.
Yeah.
wrote the Ninja Turtles theme song.
I also didn't know that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was still a thing. I thought it died out like 10 years
Oh,
ago.
100%.
But-
There's the 1986 show. There was the 1991 movie. The first Ninja Turtles movie was an independent film. It was independently financed.
I didn't know that.
and
That
it was the
fascinating.
highest grossing independent film of all time at the time.
And I think Corey Feldman voiced one of the turtles.
Yeah, Corey Feldman was Donatello.
Oh, okay.
And then there was Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze,
Ninja.
Which,
Ninja. Rap.
which had
Ninja,
the ninja,
Ninja,
rap in it
rap.
with Vanilla Ice.
Horrible
and the notably for that movie they had to tone back the violence and make the characters more cartoony because parents complained that the first one was too like violent and dark.
Follow the comic.
And then the third movie came out, which was a huge flop.
I don't
where
even remember.
They
the
go
third.
back. They would go back in time to feudal Japan.
Oh yeah.
And the property went kind of dormant for a while. There was a live show called Coming Out of Our Shells, like a live musical tour, and I think there wasn't a whole lot else besides that. And then in 2003 or in 2007, I think they made a movie, TMNT, which was like a CG animated movie. Oh, and yeah, in 2003 there was a new revival of the show, the 2003 Ninja Turtles show, which was on Fox Kids, and it was it's probably the best of the shows, and it was very successful. It wasn't as big of a phenomenon as the original wave of Turtles, but it still did very well and sold a lot of toys. Then they did the 2007 movie, and then they did the 2012 Nickelodeon animated show.
Which when I read that, it made them $490 million. I was gonna come in your office and say, "Yo, I got an idea for a snake. It's like 7 snakes, and they fight rats."
Well, it's funny that you say that because back in the day, that's what happened. When the Ninja Turtles came out, then suddenly there was Battletoads.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Samurai Pizza Cats, Stone Protectors, which was like the boy version of Treasure Trolls. It was all these things that cropped up. And actually, going back to your point about how it takes so many people to put things together, when you really look at the grand scheme of all these things, it's crazy how interconnected they are. If you watch the second episode on the Power Rangers toy line, basically the Ninja Turtles directly caused the Power Rangers to be created because the Power Rangers were based on so in Japan they have this style of children's TV programming called tokusatsu, which is basically like costume fighters. So there's like Kamen Rider and then the team tokusatsu shows are called Sentai. And those are like a team of people fighting together. And then there's Super Sentai, where there's a team of costume fighters fighting together. And then they have giant robots that they get into. And I think it was the 70s or 80s. It was in the 70s. Stan Lee from, Stan Lee, Marvel Stan Lee. He did a deal.
BFF.
He did a deal with Toei Animation to license some of their tokusatsu properties, and then in turn license some Marvel properties to them. So they made the Spider-Man show, the Japanese Spider-Man show. And what Stan Lee tried to do was that he tried to take one of these Sentai tokusatsu shows and bring it to American television. And basically he took the show and like he did a pilot where he took an episode of the show and he like overdubbed it with English voice actors, and he tried to sell it with this woman that worked for Marvel at the time, and nobody wanted it, and they were like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and they couldn't sell it. But then years later, after the Ninja Turtles had existed, somebody else, Hayao Saban, he had the idea. He was in Japan and he saw these Sentai shows, and he had the same idea to take the tokusatsu shows and bring them to the United States because they were so popular in Japan. And his idea was to just take the fight scenes of like when they're in their costumes fighting monsters and getting in the robots, because they're all wearing masks, so you can't see their faces and you can't see their mouths move.
That's why I felt dubbed.
And he had the idea to take just the fight sequences and then reshoot all of the regular talking parts with American actors. And so he took that idea to Fox Kids, and the lady who used to work at Marvel that helped Stan Lee try to sell this back in the 70s was the head of programming at Fox Kids. So when he brought this idea to her, she was like, I tried to do this a decade ago. And she was like, fuck yeah. So they did a pilot, and it was for the Power Rangers, and they called it the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because it was going off of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles name. And they did it, and it was hugely successful. So Ninja Turtles and Stan Lee both directly influenced the Power Rangers being created. It's crazy. It's crazy how all these things are interconnected like that.
See, each one.
Yeah, so tune in for adolescent mutated snake assassins.
There you go.
So yeah, it's a great show. It's
dope.
funny because my one disagreement with you is that I actually really hate the way that it's edited.
I do too.
It
really?
feels like a
Really?
YouTube
I
video.
loved it.
That's what I love.
yeah.
about it.
The tone is so bad.
I really dislike the tone. It's
Yeah.
so goofy. It reminds me of I Love the 80s.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I
kinda.
really hate it. I wish I told my friend the other day that I will drop all of my life goals and I will dedicate myself to tracking down all of the footage for the toys that made us and re-editing it as just a straightforward normal documentary series. That will become my life goal.
Nah,
I don't know,
because when he
man.
was like, toys flying off the shelf, blah blah blah, toys flying
Yeah, I
off
like
the shelf.
that. And
I was like, oh, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
I really hate it.
I hate
I
that.
wish it was just more straightforward.
And I can't
Nah,
stand.
you're not a genius
I
like
can't
us.
stand how like they cut it so it's like they're saying something like, oh, he's thinking that he's not happy, and they're just showing a blank face. And I'm like, that's not happening.
Yeah,
they're just waiting for the next question.
I don't like how they editorialize it.
Yeah,
they
I don't like that
they
at all.
use editing to like make fun of people.
Yes.
and it's just like, don't like get them to come on the show and then make fun of them. Like
Yeah,
it's I hate it.
For me, I
Yeah.
felt like it made me help me remember stuff, because now when I hear the
Yeah.
biggies, I'm like, all right, the big three, Hasbro, Mattel, and I forgot the last one.
Play-Doh.
So like in my head, it's like, all right, the biggies.
Yeah.
They said no for this part, this.
Mm.
So I don't know.
So as a last little side fact, so I mentioned Hayao Saban, who is this Israeli guy who brought the Power Rangers to the U.S. and has this huge media empire.
Oh, Saban.
I used to
Power
Yeah.
Rangers.
Saban Energy,
yeah.
Okay.
A friend of mine used to work for him,
Mhm.
and he has this big office in Beverly Hills that's like basically like a fortress, and he donates to a lot of different political things in Israel. So he has a lot of enemies. So his office is guarded by Israeli commandos.
Wow.
Holy
I
shit!
have a couple of
Does he
friends
make them
that
dress
are,
up like Power Rangers?
Yes, they're all dressed like Power Rangers.
I have a couple of friends who acted as Power Rangers, and now it just makes me feel like they're in danger.
Yes.
I'm gonna give them a call. Got to call your strong friends.
So yeah, I love the show. I mean, I already love the show, and I was waiting for the Ninja Turtles one because I've been watching the show and loving it, but like the one I was wanting was Ninja Turtles because it's my favorite toy line ever. This is my favorite
Why?
toy of all time. I'll just say this.
What makes it your favorite toy?
This is my favorite toy
And you
of
brought it to
all
work.
time.
Tyler's here.
This is the original Playmates TMNT line, Mutagen Man, and it's the coolest toy ever made.
Why?
All right.
Look at it.
Is that the original version?
But like, what about these
Yes,
toys?
this is the
Do you
original.
love so much? Is it like
He has a
the
skin
context and the
condition.
history behind it, or is it like the figure itself?
Just look at it. The sculpt, the paint job, it's just the pose. This is just such a cool toy. The biggest
He got some big old hands.
the biggest appeal about the original Ninja Turtles toys is how gross they were. That was like why they were so cool. They were gross. Like other toy lines, like He-Man and G.I. Joe and Power Rangers after it, and some of the Kenner toys, like the Star Wars toys and all that stuff. Like they were very clean and kind of heroic. That was the point of the characters, was being heroic. The big defining factor of the Ninja Turtles toys is that they were just gross.
I
Like
would
look
say
at that.
too-
It's like it's got like it's just this little glass chamber, and he's got like a brain in there, and he's just covered in slime. And this
Yeah.
isn't even the grossest one, but and you can actually fill this. Like you can pop this this cap off here,
Put some
and you can
Kool-Aid in it.
fill this with slime.
Oh.
Like you're supposed to put dish soap in there, and then you can like see through it, and it gives it this like slime viscous
Okay.
look, but you can still see the eye and the brain and stuff. It's just so cool. I just love the way they look, and I mean, obviously it's just super nostalgic. I had a lot of Turtles toys when I was a kid, and it just reminds me of
I mean, I guess I would
hanging
say
out in my
like,
room and
I would say like
playing.
Hearing you talk about it reminded me of a part of the documentary when he was designing Shredder, and he was like he didn't like how tall he was, so he crossed him down and put his hands a certain way, which gave it a certain feel. So I guess I understand why you like the toy so much, but
Yeah, and
I don't know.
that guy was he also designed a lot of the He-Man toys, and he created Skeletor.
yeah. So
Well, shout out to that guy.
Yeah, so I mean, I give
this-
the episode I give the episode an 8 out of 10 because I love it, but I am not a huge fan of the way that the show is edited.
I'm gonna give it a 7 for the same reason.
I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10, but because I did like the editing and it kept me like attached to it, but like the content was just okay. Like I'm not a big Turtles fan, so 8 out of 10.
I raised you wrong.
I might have to give it about a 7 or 8 or 9 because
Wait, just give one number.
Seven,
One
eight,
number.
nine.
It's got a 3-point spread on
yeah,
this.
it's an 8.
It's a gradient.
I would have to give it an 8 because I don't care about the Turtles, and it made me sit down and care about it. Because I care more about the business and the history of it all. But I wouldn't mind if they had just spoken about something else. Turtles are lame.
I give it an 8.4. I give it an 8.4. Kind of like
Turtles are
what you-
lame.
I like the
You
business.
take after
and,
your
like,
mom.
The story.
Ouch.
Oh, yeah. I
Yo,
don't
yo,
know.
yo, yo, you gotta chill, yo.
I was insinuating that Kelby was your mom.
That's
I
what's
got it.
up.
I got it.
So yeah, so let's quickly wrap up. We have a couple more stories. I want to just go rapid fire through these. Let's just these are a couple quick stories, not a lot of details, but let's just quickly go through them for the sake of just getting all of the news out so that you don't have to go anywhere else. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and Poison are going on a reunion tour in 2020. Even though Motley Crue did a farewell tour in 2014, and then they not only did they swear that they would never tour again, but they actually created a legally binding cessation of touring agreement contract that they all signed that basically legally bound them that they could never tour again unless all 4 of them agreed to do it, and all of them went on record several times of being like, there's not an amount of money in the world that you could pay me to tour again. But a couple years went by. Now they're going on another tour.
And child support payments start stacking up. Yeah, you trying to go on a tour?
Yeah.
Yep.
That second house isn't paying for itself.
You better recognize.
I was never a huge fan of Motley Crue. My mom loves Poison, and I
love Poison.
definitely listened to a lot of Poison growing up. Give me something to believe in.
Oh, you gotta push it.
Chose their worst song.
It is their worst song.
Dude.
Unskinny pop all night and day. I'm not a huge fan of Poison, but I love Def Leppard.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite bands.
That's what's up.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm a huge Def Leppard fan.
Wow.
But you sang the Poison song instead.
Yeah. Well, now I'm blanking. I can't get Unskinny Bop out of my head.
It's okay.
Don't worry.
Talk dirty to me. Nothing
Oh,
but a
yeah,
good time.
Yeah, talk dirty to me.
Every rose has its
Well, that's
own.
Poison.
Oh, you want to go Def Leppard?
Yeah, I'm going Def Leppard. Rock of Ages.
That's a jam.
Rock of Ages.
All right.
Scootin' Badu. Flig.
So
That's great.
Tom Hanks discovered that he's related to Mr. Rogers.
What?
If you don't know, Tom Hanks is playing Mr. Rogers in the upcoming film, which I'm blanking on the name of. Is it
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? He's playing
Hello, Neighbor.
Mr.
I
Rogers.
thought it was The Hood.
No, Hello Neighbor is the documentary. And he discovered last Sunday that he is actually Mr. Rogers' sixth cousin.
Well, when you're all from Pangina, you know.
Yep. Pangina.
The two are sixth cousins, Ancestry.com
Pangea.
discovered.
When we're all from Pangea, we're all related.
Okay.
Yeah, but
You know what I
you
mean?
gotta get the word right before you can say it.
Pangea. We're all from Africa.
It all just comes together. You see, Hanks told Access Hollywood when the show informed him of the relation. Their common ancestor was Johannes Meffert. Their subsequent ancestors had that last name or Mefford. Fred Rogers and Tom Hanks are six cousins sharing the same 5x five times great grandfather, who immigrated from Germany to America in the 18th century. Ancestry spokeswoman Carrie Madonna told CNN on Tuesday. Also, fun fact, in addition to this, Tom Hanks is a direct descendant of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I know I
shit.
liked him. That's my favorite president.
In related Mr. Rogers news, a Pittsburgh
How is that possible?
women's hospital recently surprised Mrs. Rogers with a bunch of babies dressed up like Mr. Rogers.
Aw.
Wait, hold up.
She's like, which one is mine?
Abraham Lincoln doesn't have any descendants. Or maybe it was like his brother or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
A Pittsburgh women's hospital celebrated World Kindness Day by welcoming Mrs. Rogers into their neighborhood and surprising her with babies dressed up like her late husband, Mr. Rogers. The cardigans and booties in the pictures were handcrafted by their nurse, Caitlin Petchin. Joanne Rogers was married to Fred Rogers from 1952 until 2003 when Fred passed. It's adorable.
It's adorable.
Black Adam, release date and poster released. The Black Adam movie is all set to hit theaters on December 22nd, 2021. Dwayne Johnson made the announcement on social media while teasing us with the first look at some concept art. The art is a collaboration between popular Instagram fan artist Boss Logic and legendary comic artist Jim Lee. Black Adam is a super villain in the DC universe created by Otto Binder and CC Beck. The character is a recurring enemy of Shazam, also known as Captain Marvel, and the nemesis of the Marvel Shazam family. Black Adam was a corrupted, ancient Egyptian predecessor of Captain Marvel who fought his way to the modern times to challenge the hero and his Marvel family associates. Since the turn of the 21st century, however, Black Adam has been redefined by DC Comics writers Jerry Ordway, Jeff Johns, and David S. Goyer as a corrupted anti-hero attempting to clear his name and reputation. The Rock is going to play him, and they've confirmed that the movie will be released on December 22nd of 2021, and there's some pretty dope fan art. Well, not fan art, it's official art, but it was done by a very popular fan artist.
Well, all I have to say about that is I hope the supporting cast is a great, talented group of people. Because now that you tell me what the movie's about, I know Dwayne gonna have trouble acting in that movie.
What?
Yeah, he's gonna need a Walton Goggins in there
for sure.
Oh.
Because that man, I don't know, man. To go, you got to stick to ballers.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
But can we transition?
You're usually so
into-
pro Rock, and now you're
Yeah, I like him, but like, come on. This sounds like he needs you need acting chops to sell this movie.
Let him spread his
needs-
wings and fly.
he needs some
He's
goggins.
been spreading his wings for the past 15 years.
Let
cuz.
him
was he in
grow.
Walton
All
Goggins
right, we'll
thing
see.
together?
We'll see. I don't
Or you
believe, but
They
we'll
just
haven't
see.
been-
throwing out?
No, it's just what?
You-
It has nothing to do with him being with anything with him.
Oh, it's just Walton Goggins.
Walton
is
Goggins is just if you want to fill
Good.
out your movie and make it great, you
Good.
just throw Walton.
I,
Goggins
that's
in
what I
there.
was hoping
Yeah.
you were using his name for, but I was like, am I missing a movie where
No,
they
he's
were in
just
something
essentially
together?
saying like, when you got a weak lead,
Right.
everybody else
Walton
come on
Goggins.
in.
Yeah.
You know, put Alfred Woodard in there. Just everybody come on in. You know, put Denzel in there somewhere. Make him cry.
Get Bokeem Woodbine in there. A little,
Yeah, just,
little bit of that.
Put a little something in there.
Walking Dead creator to produce American Werewolf in London series. Robert Kirkman, creator of Walking Dead, has been hired to produce a reboot of John Landis's classic. If you have never seen the original American Werewolf in London, and if you haven't, I would highly recommend that you do
Great
that
special
immediately. David and Jack, two American college students, are backpacking through Britain when a large wolf attacks them. David survives with a bite, but Jack is brutally killed. As David is healing in the hospital, he's plagued by violent nightmares of his mutilated friend, who warns David that he's becoming a werewolf. When David discovers the horrible truth, he contemplates committing suicide before the next full moon causes him to transform from man to murderous beast. It's a great movie, and they're going to do a series that's going to be helmed by Robert Kirkman. And I couldn't be more blasé about a thing that I like, because I love American Werewolf in London, but I don't care for Robert Kirkman as a comic book writer. I never cared for The Walking Dead, and I just have no interest in this happening.
All I remember is the special effects are like insane. Or I mean, the practical
Yeah, they're very
effects, I
good.
guess.
They're very good. David Fincher and Robert Towne are developing a Chinatown prequel series. Netflix has just announced a Chinatown prequel series that Fincher and Chinatown screenwriter Robert Towne are both working on. The prequel will focus on a young Jake Gittes, and Fincher and Towne are currently working on the pilot script. Fincher may direct as well, but that hasn't been negotiated. Chinatown is a movie from 1974 that was written by Robert Towne and directed by Roman Polanski. It is great. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's a little controversial to watch it or talk about it now because of all the controversy surrounding Roman Polanski, but definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. And, I don't know, David Fincher doing a Chinatown show.
Remind me, David Fincher. What is?
He,
Social Network,
directed
Gone Girl,
Fight Club.
Fight
Oh,
Club,
okay, gotcha.
He
The
likes to,
Game.
he likes to put the camera in like places you would never expect, or like break through things.
Yeah.
Okay.
David Fincher's whole thing with being a director is that he wants to create the objective eye. He wants there to be no feeling of the presence of the camera. He wants it to just feel like you're in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Last story, a Sin City TV series is coming. Speaking of Frank Miller, Sin City creator Frank Miller has signed a deal with Legendary Television to next adapt the franchise as a new television series. Robert Rodriguez, who co-directed the Sin City movies with Miller, is also reportedly close to signing with Legendary as well. The pair also directed the 2014 sequel, which would make this the third Sin City collaboration. Additionally, the two are expected to be executive producers with Legendary Television or on this new project. Stephen L. Haro is also producing alongside Miller's production company head Cylin Thomas. Reportedly, Legendary is guaranteed a first season of the show, contingent on its placement on a network or streaming service. It seems likely that the series will share a universe with the previous movies, especially with Frank Miller and potentially Rodriguez on board. But it's still very early in the process, and those details haven't been confirmed. Additionally, the Legendary deal is also calling for the production of a hard R animated series for a Sin City prequel based on the original graphic novels from Miller. So they're going to do a Sin City show. I loved the original Sin City when it came out. I saw it several times in theaters. I was really lukewarm on the sequel. Didn't care.
I didn't watch the sequel.
about it at all.
I can't even remember the sequel. I remember loving the first one, and I can't even recall the sequel.
I ain't go.
So yeah, I feel like a lot of these movies, like a lot of this news at the end, like are things that should make me excited, and I'm just like failing to feel excited.
Yeah, it's weird.
There's a little bit of fatigue.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's a
going
lot of
on.
shit.
Yeah,
that's Hollywood. A lot of shit.
We've been
I
doing
like
this,
that.
we've been doing this show for 9 episodes so far. At this point, if you told me, "Hey, Martin Scorsese's doing an HR Puffin Stuff reboot," I'd be like,
I actually
bring it on.
I'd be
get
really
it,
excited
get
about
it
that.
together, Martin Scorsese. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody. So that's the end of our show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you listen to this, if you watch this on the stream and you enjoyed what you saw, if you appreciated getting all of the week's roundup of nostalgic news, then I would say you might want to subscribe to the podcast. It's available on anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you go to the link that's on the screen, if you're watching the stream, bit.ly.com/nostalgicast, that'll take you right to the Apple Podcast page where you can subscribe, but you can also do it on Spotify or Stitcher or Google Play or whatever. And we do this show every week. We round up the week's biggest pop culture nostalgia news. If you like the show and you subscribe, you might want to leave a little bit of a rating and a review. It really helps us out to get those 5-star ratings. Like our Facebook page if you've stumbled across this and you don't already like the nostalgia Facebook page. Every day we're posting tons of cool throwback nostalgia content. Join our Facebook group, the Nostalgia Facebook group, if you want to be a part of our community of people who are talking about nostalgic things every day. Follow us on Instagram at Nostalgia. Same thing, just tons of cool nostalgia content going out every single day. If you have a comment, a question, or anything that you might possibly want read out loud on the podcast, you can email us at nostalgicastpod@gmail.com. And if you listen, if you like the show, if you subscribe, if you are a loyal returning fan, and you want to support us in maybe more of a financial way, you can become a fan of the Nostalgia Facebook page. If you look at the top of the Nostalgia Facebook page, there's a button that says Become a Supporter. For $4.99 a month, you can be a fan, and you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else gets, bonus episodes, special videos, additional stuff, giveaways, whatever. You know, we got a ton of stuff in the works. So if you wanna become a fan and support the podcast, click on that Become a Supporter button and become a fan. $4.99 a month. Cancel anytime. And of course, if you don't want to do that, you're more than welcome to continue listening to the podcast for free. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Wakanda forever.
So long.